How many of you have read The Hunger Games?
Yes.
I want to check the side.
So good.
Nice, nice. So you just started. I'm sorry, raise your hand again if you read The Hunger Games. Okay. Okay, cool. And then we got one reading it now. So, how many? Okay, and the people who've not read it, how many of you anticipate wanting to read it? Okay, then I won't spoil it for any of you. Great. The premise of the book is the world has kind of been destroyed as we know it. People are still living. The government, which is called the capital, is kind of taking over, and they are in complete control of these people's lives. And the main star is this young lady named Katniss, who's 17 years old. And she is pretty much just really hates the capital. She really hates the government, the authority. But in this turn of events that I won't go into too much, she throws herself completely at the mercy of the capital for this selfless act. She essentially says that I will take the place of someone else, which seems like sure death kind of deal. And I mentioned it because I knew several of you had read them. Also, our own John Brooks, who teaches Sunday school class, is got a small role in the film that's coming out in March.
Kyle Phillips?
Yeah, Kyle Phillips. So, anyway, but this idea that Katniss really hates the capital, and she really feels like it's this pawn, or she's this pawn to their game. But then she, one thing changes, and she throws herself at the mercy of it. And it's very similar to the story that we are going to start and read tonight, which is in 2 Kings 5. So I'll read it then. So everyone. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Aram, was a great man in his master's sight and highly regarded because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. The man was a brave warrior, but he had a skin disease, leprosy. Aram had gone on raids and brought back from the land of Israel a young girl who served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my master would go to the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his skin disease." So Naaman went and told his master what the girl from the land of Israel had said. Therefore the king of Aram said, "Go, and I will send a letter with you to the king of Israel." So he went, and he took from him 750 pounds of silver, 150 pounds of gold, and 10 changes of clothes. He brought the letter to the king of Israel, and it read, "When this letter comes to you, note that I have sent you my servant Naaman for you to cure him of his skin disease." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and asked, "Am I God, killing and giving life, that this man expects me to cure a man of his skin disease? Think it over, and you will see that he is only picking a fight with me." When Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel tore his clothes, he sent a message to the king, "Why have you torn your clothes? Have him come to me, and he will know there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stood at the door of Elisha's home. Then Elisha sent a messenger who said, "Go wash 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored and you will be clean." But Naaman got angry and left, saying, "I was telling myself, he will surely come out and stand and call on the name of Yahweh, his God, and will wave his hand over the spot and cure the skin disease. Aren't Aban and Farmar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?" So he turned and he left in a rage. But his servants approached and said to him, "My father, If the prophet had told you to do something great, some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more should you do it when he tells you, wash and be clean? So Naaman went down, dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times, according to the command of the man of God, and then his skin was restored and became like the skin of a small boy, and he was clean. It's quite a long passage. To kind of relate to the little girl. So the similarities between Katniss and this little girl is this girl was basically a pawn. She was a slave. She was captured. She was from Israel. She was a Jew. Captured. Most likely her parents were either murdered or she was completely separated from them. And then now she's serving this commander in an army who was the one who basically led the raid to capture her. She, of all people, had every right to be angry, to be bitter, to be mad at the authorities. The person that she was serving day in and day out was the one who captured her, who took all of her freedoms. And she had this right, really. In all of our minds, she kind of has this right to be angry and to shake her fist at the authority. But she doesn't do that. She wishes him to be healed, which is just this amazing thing for me, because I think it goes against so many of our natural desires and our natural tendencies. When someone harms us or hurts us or anything, we want to get even, or we at least want harm done to them. We want justice. You know, and I don't think there's anything wrong with this justice, but how much more of an example that she wanted him to be healed, you know? So that's kind of the topic for tonight, is thinking about this, thinking of others first. So when you hear that, and I say, like, you know, we need to think of others before ourselves, what do you guys think?
I think the girl really shows that, like, thinking about others, she wasn't thinking about herself. Like you were saying, his natural tendencies, she could just let those dictate what she did, but she didn't. She thought about him and said, you know, I want you to be healed. So
Yeah.
it's incredible that she put that first.
She really didn't have anything to gain by doing that.
Yeah.
So I think to a lot of people that wouldn't make sense
Yeah.
to act that way.
Yeah. So when I say,
I gotta just think, what did she do with all of her wounds from that?
Yeah.
That's the,
yeah.
I just go, like, what would you, I mean, that's a lot of, I can't imagine what it would be like to have to deal with what happened to her, and then, like, how, yeah, that's just really hard to imagine being taken captive.
Yeah.
What do you do with all that, and then to have a heart that is the opposite?
Mhm.
So I just want to point out, the guy was carrying like 860 pounds of money with him. Just saying.
And 10 change of clothes.
Yeah, yeah, change your clothes.
I was waiting for that part to be relevant.
It's not for this discussion.
Actually, a lot, yeah, a lot relevant.
Yeah.
For the condition.
So when I say, like, when you hear this idea that as Christians we need to think of others first, what does that make you think? Like, what kind of behaviors and actions and thoughts does that bring to your mind?
Or maybe what do you picture that, how we do that? Maybe how do we do that? Because like I picture, at least I think I picture like Saturday mornings, you know, I can picture Janie out there at the least of these cooking or something. I can picture Adam, you know, maybe down to Olivia, you know, doing stuff there. You know, I go around and I can see, if I can picture y'all kind of doing that, you know. And I think that's what I usually think of, is like these good things that we do as Christians. But how about like on campus? Is it, y'all see it on campus or?
Like maybe helping a friend out with math problems that day. If they're like in a lower math class and you might want to help them with it.
She just put this up.
What else?
Just being nice, I guess. Like, just as easy to make a nice comment as it is to make a mean comment.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that we often overlook.
Is it easier to do it with strangers or with friends or with family? What's that? All? You find it easier to do it with all or harder? Well, like it is, I find sometimes it's easier for me to do good things to strangers than it is sometimes like on family.
Well, when you first get to know the stranger, you still want to be nice.
Like holding the door for people, like that's just nice.
Yeah.
Everybody end up being strangers at first, just like some of your family.
I think I struggle with my family because since they are the ones who know me best, it's so easy to just take things that they do for me for granted or just snap at them when I'm in a bad mood because I'm around them all the time. And I just, with my friends, I don't want to act that way because I want them to like me and all that stuff. But with my family, I just kind of can, I guess, take advantage of that sometimes by just not really being aware of.
Yeah. I think it's often the people that we are the closest with and love the most are the ones that it's easiest to lash out at. Yeah, I think that often we, as a church community, kind of have this idea of thinking of others first as this like, oh, we think of them as better than us, and we, you know, want to always think of the best of them, and we, you know, and I think there's some truth to all of those things, but I think that it doesn't fully reflect kind of this idea of what I think the Bible really pushes us toward when we think about others first. And as I was looking over a handful of passages this week and thinking about this idea of how do we biblically look at others first and what does that look like for our lives, I realized that thinking of others first has kind of two elements to it. The first is there's an action that's related to thinking of others first. It's not just that I think like, you know, oh, Sean is really, really great and I should, you know, be more concerned with his feelings than me, you know, kind of whatever. You know, like if I can think all those things, but unless I do something, say something, act in some way that lets him know that, then the thoughts are useless. They're kind of in vain. And so there's an action that's related to this idea of thinking of others first. So I'm not the only one talking and reading. Someone jump up and grab one of the Bibles. And thank you. And would you go to Mark 10? And read 32 through 45. 32 45.
Okay. They were on their way up to Jerusalem, with Jesus leading the way, and the disciples were astonished, while those who followed were afraid. Again he took the 12 aside and told them what was going to happen to them. "We are going up to Jerusalem," he said, "and the Son of Man will be betrayed to the chief priests and the teachers of the law. They'll condemn him to death and will hand him over to the Gentiles, who will mock and spit on him, flog and kill him. 3 days later he will rise." Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him. "Teacher," they said, "we want you to do for us whatever we ask." "What do you want me to do for you?" he asked. They replied, "Let one of us sit at your right and the other at your left in your glory." "You don't know what you are asking," Jesus said. "Can you drink the cup I drink or be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with?" "We can," they answered. Jesus said to them, "You will drink the cup I drink and be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with, but to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. Those places belong to those for whom they have been prepared." When the 10 heard this, they became indignant with James and John. Jesus called them together and said, "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many."
Thank you. So let me frame this just a little bit. Jesus has been hinting at this point about him really being the Son of God. And so the disciples have kind of gotten it, they kind of haven't. You know, it's kind of what we kind of expect. But here, he like fully tells them, you know, like, I am the Son of God, and I'm going to die, you know, and I'm going to rise, I'm going to be resurrected. And he kind of tells them for the first time. And it really is Jesus kind of really opening up in this really intimate way where he's telling them something that's probably been burdening him to some degree for a while. You know, these are his best friends, and he's telling them this secret, this massive secret that the Jews have been waiting for thousands of years, you know, and kind of releases it, and his best friends say, "Oh, hold on, wait a minute, you're the one who's going to be up, you're going up. Can we sit on your right and left?" You know, like it's just like when you kind of think about that, it's absurd. It really, really is. But that's what Jesus' friends do. And then he kind of goes into this explanation about like leadership. He kind of says, you know, like, oh, this is what the Gentiles do and they lord it over you. It's not with us, though. This is not the way Christians behave. This is not how people who are my best friends act. But rather, if you want the authority and the responsibility, the glamour, if you will, of sitting on the right and the left of me, or you know, these high esteemed positions, then you have to be a servant. And if you want to be the greatest, you have to be a slave. You know, and just how contradictory that is, even in our lives. And just like thinking about others first to the point that you would want someone healed who's hurt you, I think it's not our natural tendency to think that service is the way to the top. But I think that when we do serve, we do get a sense of that. What do you guys think? Like, what have been times when you've really committed to serving someone else, acting out this idea of others first, and how did you feel?
This past summer, when I worked as a CIT at Mary Mac, that was all I was doing. I wasn't getting paid. I was doing all the jobs that no one else wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating at times because you don't really ever get thanked.
Yeah.
Because they're jobs that no one really notices when they're done, but they notice if they don't get done.
Oh, yeah.
And So it was hard because at times I felt underappreciated, but throughout the course of the month that I was there, I realized how it was just so rewarding to get to serve the rest of the staff and the campers, because through that work, when I realized like it's not about me, that was when the Lord came in and really fulfilled that, and it was so rewarding to get to do that. So.
How long did you do the job?
4 weeks.
And about what point did you really kind of feel that idea of kind of this real sense of service? You know, like kind of what was that shift between like, oh, no one is appreciative of me, and
Probably
really-
by like the end of the second week.
yeah,
Yeah.
neat.
Like this summer I went on a mission trip, and like that's the moment. It's like kind of like not about you anymore. It's about like serving other people, but they're like super appreciative of you, like everything you do.
Yeah, can you reward? Have y'all ever done something that like you wanted to do it in secret for them not to know it? Have you ever like tried to do something like for somebody, and what's that been like? Has it been, have you been successful with it? You do something like a secret good deed for somebody without them knowing. I can remember one time being challenged to do that in my house, or in my home for like a month, once a week, and they didn't recognize it, and I got really mad. Like you do it, and then they like how they come home, and then they wouldn't say thank you, and then I, really it showed me my heart, why I was doing it, was really doing it for that. But
When that happens, they usually know it's me. Because it's a secret,
yeah.
so they're not supposed to know who did it.
Right, but you kind of hope, for me, I'm kind of hoping they'll find out.
Yeah.
I think that's it, a lot of times you kind of hope they will. And I think that's really sometimes to try that, it might be something for us to try, just to do, to like even tonight, like I want to do something for somebody in your family without, something they have to do, or write them a note, they might know it's you, but just try to do some things without wanting to be done in public.
So, this idea that biblically looking at others first is one that's directly tied to an action. And then two, and I think this is kind of the bigger point and the harder part, is that it's also a complete mindset. It's not just the action. It's a way of looking at life. And I think one of the things that's hard about it, and the potentials for, if we only have the first part, if we only have the idea of actions, then we are setting ourselves for the potential of making our faith a works-based thing. If we set it up where like, oh, I'm serving others first, I'm always thinking of others first, look at what I did, we run the risk of really kind of saying like, look at me, I've earned my spot into heaven, I've accomplished all these things, and there's also a great risk for us to completely point at ourselves. Oh, look, I made sure I washed the dishes every day this week. Oh look, I made sure that the house was straightened up. I made sure that my friends, were encouraged this week by letters. We all put, it puts the focus on us when we only have this side of the action. But we also have to have a mindset, and we're going to read Philippians 2, and I think this is one of the most challenging and hard passages in most of the Bible for me. But I think it really gets to this idea that it's not just our actions that bring us to thinking of others first. It's a mindset. If then there's any encouragement in Christ, if any consolation of love, if any fellowship with the Spirit, if any affection and mercy, fulfill my joy by thinking the same way, having the same love, sharing the same feelings, focusing in on one goal. Do nothing out of rivalry or conceit, but in humility consider others as more important than yourselves. Everyone should look out not only for his own interest, but also for the interest of others. Make your attitude that of Christ Jesus, who existing in the form of God, did not consider equality with God as something to be used for his own advantage. Instead, he emptied himself by assuming the form of a slave, taking on the likeness of men, and when he had come as a man in his full extent form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Here Paul is kind of the first couple chapters, he's kind of saying, like, the goal of unity, the goal of being one in Christ is thinking about others first. Kind of, again, that action. But then he kind of says, but in order to do this, we have to look at Christ, that he emptied himself out, that he was God, he was fully God. He was the one who created the earth, he's the one who created us, and he came down, served us, and died for us. I think that is really the key, that the more we learn and understand what Christ did for us, the more it frees us to serve other people. Because I realized that I was given something that was greater than anything else in the world, greater than me washing dishes for eternity, greater than me stopping by the grocery store at every need of my parents, for your parents, greater than any service project or any mission trip that you could ever do. You were given that. And that, the more we understand, that frees us to be able to wash dishes, to be able to serve, to encourage. And I think that's the key to thinking of others first. It's not simply action, although it is. I don't want to take that away. We have to serve others in order to think of them first. But the key is the reason why we do it. Is that we do it because we have been freed because of how Christ served us. I got this kind of illustration. So I can hold my keys, and I can say, like, I'm not going to look at my keys. I'm not going to look at my keys. I'm not going to look at my keys. But I don't have to look at them to tell you that it's a semi-D-shaped carabiner that's partly purple, partly gray from where it's faded. I have 4 key rings on it. One has an oval car key that goes to my truck. One goes to my wife's Subaru, and it's semi-rectangle. It also has an Ingalls card, a Buffalo's card, and a Cheshire card that I never use. And another one has 4 keys on it, 3 house keys and a mailbox key. The other one has 2 other keys that go into the Davis dorm over there where I have an office. And then one of them has 1 single key on it. And that small key ring is slightly bent because it got jammed in a door one time. I don't have to look at my keys for me to tell you what they look like. I use my keys every day. I interact with them all the time. I fumble with them in my pocket. So I can say I'm not going to look at them, I'm not going to look at them, but I haven't replaced something in my mind to say that I'm going to think about that. And I think serving others is kind of the same way. We can muster up all the service that we want and say, like, I'm going to serve such and such. I'm gonna bless Alan. I'm gonna just love on Sean. I'm going to support Micah. I'm going to, we can do all those things and we can make that the focus, but it still is setting us up for potential failure if we're not replacing these acts with this idea that we serve because Christ served us. And I think that really is the heart of serving others and thinking of others first, that we are freed to do that. And like my keys, I didn't have to look at them to tell you what they looked like, because I interact with them every day. And Jesus is the same way. The more we are interacting with them, the more we are fully understanding the price that He paid for us, the more that we are freed to serve. We got just a couple of minutes left. Let's break up in groups. Let's spend some time praying for each other, and specifically how we can or just pray for a better understanding of Christ that frees us up to serve people. And also, if there's people that you just really struggle with serving, that are in your life and you feel like you need to, but struggle with that, and you feel comfortable, we can share that with prayer request. So let's just break up and do that, and then I'll close us in prayer in a few minutes.
Let's get the girls get together over there, guys over this way, and that would be the question: who's it difficult for you to pray with? Not pray with. Who's it difficult for you to serve? Or, is there somebody that is a hard time for you to love or to like? And then, is there somebody in your community, school, somewhere, that would be good for some people to put some love on? And then just kind of pray together. And then we won't take too long because we're going to do some activities here to get y'all moving around a little bit. So y'all jump in those. Alan, you'll run this, and then Rebecca, you get that group over here.
Guys over here.